The Nuggets were up. The Nuggets were competing. The Nuggets were battling. Then Aaron Gordon got hurt, and then Jokic hurt his elbow, and then the fourth quarter happened, and the Nuggets get blown out by the Thunder. Spoiler, I'm pretty encouraged. Ryan, not so much. This is Locked On Nuggets.
You are Locked On Nuggets, your daily Denver Nuggets podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome to Locked On Nuggets, your daily Denver Nuggets podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Thanks for joining us and making us part of your day, being with us and being part of our community. We do appreciate you guys being an everydayer, hanging out with us Monday through Friday. Today's show is brought to you by FanDuel. And right now, new customers can get $200 in bonus bets when your first $5 bet wins. My name is Matt Moore. I write for a site called thedenverdig.com, amongst others. I have an article over there about what it was like to be in the building, or at least half of it, for 32-20 and 20, or 30-20-20. It was like 32-21-20, I think. And you can read that at thedenverdig.com. You can catch Ryan's breakdown of not only that game, but also I thought he wrote a really good recap of the Thunder game at milehighsports.com. So make sure you go check that out at Mile High Sports. You can also catch him on the Peckaxe and Roll podcast. We do write the things and you will enjoy them. And speaking of, you can subscribe to our newsletter at lockedondaily.com. You can also subscribe there and catch our work, because we'll have stuff from this game and more as we head along towards the playoffs. On today's show, we'll discuss the loss of the Oklahoma City Thunder and preview tomorrow's back-to-back set versus OKC, who plays, who won't, etc. We will talk about the Russ call in the course of this program. And maybe a few others, but we're not going to do like a segment. If you listen to a lot of the Locked On shows like I do, it's really funny because you would not believe how many times I hear a host say, look, I hate to be the it was the ref's fault guy, but like I hear it all the time. Look, I'm not saying that they lost because of the refs. However, it's just everybody does it, and that's okay. Yeah. The compromise I will make, however, is that at youtube.com/LockedOnNuggets, those of you joining live, you can post anything that you want that is not vulgar or threatening about the officiating and your displeasure with it, and I will put it on the show while we're talking. I will monitor and do it. So that's my compromise, is you get to vent onto the YouTube channel. If you're listening on podcasts, we do appreciate you listening on podcasts, but if you want to catch all the officiating complaints, you're going to have to go to youtube.com/LockedOnNuggets. That will be my compromise with the people that were very upset with me for stating the reason. I will say this, the reason I state the facts is not to antagonize you. It's to try and be like, I know how it feels, but that's not the reality. I get how it feels. That's not the reality. And that doesn't mean that the Russ call didn't matter, because it did. It was a huge momentum turning call. They should have called a foul on that. It should have been free throws. They shouldn't have called a tech on it. That was a nonsense call, and it was a huge moment in the game.
Foul out on Chet.
Yep. It was a huge moment in the game. Chet was plus 32 in this game. Completely agree. I am just saying you cannot sit there and be like, they got all the calls and we got none, and they always get all the calls and we always get none, because the data says that's not true.
Yeah, here's my larger point on this, and then we can kind of put that to bed. I wrote about it more from the detail side of things. That, look, OKC got 25 free throws. Okay. Denver got 20 and they made 11 of them. That's a detail thing. You missed 9 points at the line. Denver only turned the ball over 7 times. They allowed 16 points off of turnovers. OKC had 5 turnovers only. Denver turned them over 5 total times. They only allowed 9 points off of turnovers. That's a 7-point discrepancy right there. When OKC has 11 more free throws made than you, that's what I care about. And that's a detail thing, because Denver got to the free throw line 20 times. They just were not precise enough. They were not good enough throughout the entirety of this game. And Matt, that's how OKC beats you. They don't beat you in the first quarter. They don't beat you in the second quarter. They beat you because they are relentless, and Denver could not hang. They just could not. And it's unfortunate to have to be the bearer of bad news here, but Denver was not able to hang, in part because of injuries, in part because Jokic couldn't shoot in the second quarter for some reason, in part because, like, yeah, they started Russell Westbrook in the third quarter and that small lineup could not hang. And those were fouls, folks, at the beginning of the third quarter because the Nuggets were too small and they were not physical enough. Like, sorry, that's just an unfortunate reality here. But like, that's where it's more interesting to me, is that Denver was not good enough to make the fouls worth talking about. They just weren't.
All right, so let's start here. The start of the game was awesome. They played phenomenal basketball to start the game.
It was elite basketball in the first half.
That first half was really great. Like, they were just going back and forth at each other. It was really terrific. And I felt like that the whole team was making really good plays. It was really funny that I actually thought that Christian played much better in the second half versus the first half. In the first, there was like a run at the end of the second quarter. There was actually minutes in the middle and like the first quarter where I texted, I was like, Christian's not having a good time here. And then he did what he always does, which is he winds up with having like a really good game.
He was great.
AG hit a corner three. Like, there was a lot of positive stuff. MPJ was knocking down shots. They showed, I think, that they can hang offensively with OKC. Like, that elite defense to me for a long while. The Nuggets wound up with a 41% field goal percentage and only a 104 offensive rating. But in that first half, I really felt like they were able to kind of hang with them. They were making plays on defense. They had a 115 offensive rating in that first half. That's phenomenal versus the Oklahoma City Thunder. So I liked a lot of what I saw from Denver in that first half.
Yeah, there's no doubt. Like, Denver had, I think, a lot of help there. Like, they definitely. OKC missed some open shots. I think that Shai, especially, for whatever reason, he was not hitting the three tonight or earlier today. And that definitely helped keep Denver in it. The OKC kind of, we've seen this before with them. We've seen this before in the playoffs, that when you get them into a tight game, when you get them into a game that they're a little bit more uncomfortable with, they can be a little bit weaker. They can be like the guys that make the consistent shots don't make them as often. And like, that's just the unfortunate reality for Denver, is that they let go of the rope in the third quarter. They let go of the rope in the fourth quarter. And when you can't stay attached, you don't have an opportunity to show how good you could be in clutch time. And Denver they could not show that at that point. I do think that the Gordon loss was a big deal. I think that his physicality, his versatility, just having another guy that you can play. Like, I thought that Zeke Naji was fine today. I didn't think that he was a problem. I thought that Peyton was bad, like really bad in his 6 minutes, and like they couldn't play him or chose not to play him. Jalen Pickett was Denver's best bench player today, and that's not tremendous. And he didn't actually start in the rotation. The only reason he got into the rotation was because Aaron Gordon was not out there. So it's tough. That's a tough place for Denver to be. But I think that they first half they showed that they could hang. Second half they showed that they couldn't. I don't know what's real and what's not.
Up next, I am going to go out on a limb and I'm going to defend a Nugget for his performance today. And we'll see how Ryan responds to that. We'll talk about that next here on Locked on Nuggets. NBA fans, get ready. They swoosh, you save. Thanks to Dash Pass, every time a player drops 50 or more points in a game, you score a huge deal the next day. It's simple. When any player scores 50 or more in a game during the 24-25 NBA regular season, Dash Pass members get 50% off an order, up to $10 off the next day from noon until midnight. So if you're staying up late and you're watching highlights, if those of you are in college and you're studying for midterms, I know those are going on right now, and you just need a midnight snack, use Dash Pass to grab something delicious while saving big. Sign up for Dash Pass and be ready to save. When any player scores 50 or more in a game, Dash Pass members get 50% off an order the next day, up to $10 off. You do have to be a Dash Pass member, which is a great way for you to save. Just use promo code NBA50 from noon until midnight after a 50-point game on eligible orders at participating merchants. Must have an active Dash Pass account. Terms apply. Visit DoorDash to learn more. We'll be right back on Locked on Nuggets. Back here on Locked on Nuggets. Thanks for joining us and making us part of your day. Appreciate you guys being with us here on a Monday after a rough loss to the Oklahoma City Thunder that is not revealed by this final score. The Nuggets let go of the rope, and the Thunder made a bunch of corner threes, and Honestly, a lot of it was the Nuggets went to a zone, which they should a 1-2-2 zone, which they should banish until the farthest depths of the mountains. That was I did not. I think you're better off with a 3-2 or something a little bit like I did not like the sequence because the Thunder were literally like whichever. Oh, Jokic is on that side. Oh, we'll just go there. And then when the Nuggets tried to like crowd a little bit to prevent Joker from having to do that, then the other side was even more wide open. Like you just can't give up corner threes like that to this team. I just don't think you can do that.
Yeah, I mean, if it's Alex Caruso, I think you sometimes have to live with it. I think it's more depending on personnel. If it's Case and Wallace, which Jokic gave up an open three to him for some reason, then why would you do that? But yeah, I think 1-2-2 is kind of an extension of a 3-2. It's just a little bit more aggressive up top. I think that honestly for Denver, they have to get creative in this matchup. You want to try to crowd SGA as much as possible at the top of the key, force him to make those passes and those rotations. And like, I thought that they did a pretty decent job on him overall today. Like he had 40 points on 32 shots. And I know that that's perfectly reasonable for a team that is as great defensively as the Thunder are. But if Denver keeps scoring at the rate that they had in the first half, they also are fine in that particular matchup. They couldn't continue to score with this Thunder team and couldn't make enough shots to really hang. So I don't know. I think I'm okay with them trying some different things, especially because one of the reasons why they're going zone, Matt, is because they're playing such a short rotation that these guys are tired. They can't move anymore. Like you have to play easier games, and playing zone is easier.
So I think that one of the things if they were to meet in the playoffs, which would be the Western Conference Finals, which obviously fans of this team are not going to feel like.
Drop to the 4.
Okay, so LeBron James is out for an indefinite period of time, and the Grizzlies are without Jaren Jackson for an indefinite period of time, and the Houston Rockets, I think, are missing Amin Thompson tomorrow.
Yeah, 10 to 14 days.
Yeah. So I think you're good. I think they're probably
going to get the 2.
I think they're going to be in the 2-3 at the very worst. The Lakers may just continue to win, however, but I think the Nuggets are going to be in the 2-3. Regardless, for a matchup, Shai. So here's a funny thing. You don't have to do this as a Nuggets fan, but just like from their perspective, Thunder fans were like, Shai missed a bunch of shots that he can make. He missed layups, and he was 2 of 11 from 3-point range. And I kind of feel like they've got a point because I didn't feel like Denver ever pressured or put any sort of resistance to him. What was odd was I thought this was maybe to start this game was Christian's best game of going over screens I have seen this season. He was phenomenal. He was doing such a good job of crowding without fouling and doing an awesome job defending Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. And Shai was like, okay. So we ISO'd him. And then he killed Christian in ISO where Christian's usually elite. But that's just like how good Shai is. Like he was just able to get by him and score. I do think that here's the guy that I'm going to defend. I went back and I watched all of Jamal Murray's misses. I watched all of them. Go back and watch them. You can go to NBA.com and you can see all the shot attempts.
I can see them in my head right now.
Here is how I marked them because I made notes on them. And I try and be impartial. I didn't come into this being like, well, I'm going to make this look good for Jamal. Like, if you know, not like I got anything to gain by being nice to Jamal Murray. He had an open jumper versus drop coverage versus Isaiah Hartenstein twice. They rattled in and out. He had a pump fake open 3. It was a beautiful pump fake to create an open look that he's going to knock down most of the time, or at least 40% of the time. He missed it. He had the missed layup in transition off of a great steal that he created, but MPJ got the putback anyway. Like it was good defense, but that allowed MPJ to just clean it up anyway. He had an open transition 3 with nobody around him. Shai blocked him on 1. That was one where he got wildly out of control. He created another open good look 3 off of pick and roll. He pump faked, got the guy up in the air, had a clean look and missed it. One of them was a buzzer beater at the end of the third from like 35 feet. Caruso did a really good job on one denying the screen. Help came, and that was the one where Jamal needed to pass to the corner, and he couldn't quite get enough air under him to make the corner pass from under the basket. And then he had an open look step back, and it just rolled off the rim. Like, look, the reason I note this is The problem with Jamal versus teams like OKC is that they swallow him up to the point he can't shoot. That's what the Wolves did to him in that series last year. Jamal had to give the ball up because he couldn't get around him. He couldn't find space to get a shot up. Jamal had looks today that are his looks, that are good looks, that he's going to make most of the time. Jamal did the things that he needed to do, especially after Joker had that elbow injury. He just missed shots. So I'll defend Jamal Murray's offensive performance today. I do not think that Jamal was actually affected by the OKC defense as much as the box score shows.
I'm willing to run with that. Obviously, like, these are clean shots. These are like uncontested shots. If Murray is locked in, playoff Jamal Murray, then you have to hope that he hits those. Like, that's just the best case scenario that you're going to get for this team, is that he hits the open shots that you generate for him. So if that can hold up, then that's great. I also think, and folks are bashing his defense in this game. I don't agree. I thought his defense in the first half was excellent. Like, honestly, genuinely, his hands were so good. He was in the right spot. He was making plays on the glass. He was fighting through screens. He was doing a whole heck of a lot. And it's unfortunate that, second half, the rope was let go from everybody, and he got dusted a couple of times by SGA. You know, the one of the best transition defender or offensive players in the NBA. Like, okay, like, sorry.
But here's the other thing, though. It was like, this is a 5-point game in the fourth. Yeah. Like, they didn't get dusted in the second half. They got dusted in that one run at the end of the game. A good way, honestly, to kind of analyze this game, which I know, like, you wanted to get the win. I get it. What did I say to start the year on these shows? I said you have to be better by the end of the year than you are at the start. In the opening night, 5 minutes into that game, I looked at Ryan and was like, they are in serious trouble.
Yeah.
Because they were ahead on OKC, and Ryan and I were both like, OKC's getting whatever they want, whenever they want, and Denver's not. Yeah. And like, Denver doesn't look right. And the Thunder like got the lead and then got a little bit of a bigger lead and then a little bit of a bigger lead. The Nuggets were not in that game on opening night. They were in this game on the road here at game 60. They were in this game.
And to be fair, like, I know more excuses galore here, but AG goes out. It's daylight savings time, traveling west to east on a game that starts at 11 a.m. here.
Right? Like, this is the one that, like, you know. So my thing here is genuinely, I understand the frustration. They still have, like, look, the stretch of games versus tough teams hasn't gone great, and that's still
they are 3-12. 0-7 versus the top of the Eastern Conference, and 3-5 now against the top of the West, the top 4 other teams outside of Denver.
And I'm not gonna, there's comments of like making excuses. I do think that AG getting hurt. Look, here's the reality. It's not an excuse. It's this: the Nuggets should have a better roster so that if AG goes down, they still have a chance versus Oklahoma City.
Yeah, it'd be great. They should have a trust most of their other guys, but. Like, at this point, it's the fact that Zeke Nashi's back in the swing of things is actually, it's a godsend, because where would they be right now if he wasn't available, man? It's crazy to think about. But like, yeah, this is the deck that they have been dealt, the cards that they have been dealt. And I think that Denver at this point they're still sort of navigating these ups and downs that, like, look, we know which 7 guys are probably going to play. It's the main starters. It's Peyton Watson, maybe.
How about
Russell Westbrook?
How about we talk about that? We'll talk about Russ and we'll talk about Peyton.
Jalen Pickett.
We'll talk about those guys on the other side here on Locked On Nuggets. March Madness is here, and FanDuel is giving you the chance to get in on the action like never before. Right now, new customers can get $200 in bonus bets when your first $5 bet wins. That's $200 extra to use on everything from buzzer beaters to Cinderella stories and even who's cutting down the nets. You can get in on some of the favorites. I feel like we're going to see probably one of the Blue Bloods win this year because that's typically how it happens. It wouldn't be surprising to me if Duke was able to make that kind of a run, but I'll be very curious. The SEC is so strong this year. I'm really curious to see which conference winds up cutting down the nets. Visit FanDuel.com and get in on the college hoops action all tournament long. We'll be right back on Locked On Nuggets. Back here on Locked On Nuggets, where you can tell the Nuggets lost because the comment section could not be more doomer than it is tonight. We get criticized for being doom and gloom. We're trying to like sometimes meet. I'm trying to like, I'm like, am I being too positive? Like, do I need to be? And then later the comments are like, why is this show so doomer? Why is it so negative
all the time? Like these guys hate everything, and they're not half wrong.
and I will tell you this, where it's like, you're like, well, they're making excuses for being 2-12 versus these bad teams or these great teams.
3-12.
No, I'm not. Ryan and I both agree that the odds of them winning the NBA championship are very small. Like, Ryan, you would agree with me, the Lakers have a better chance of winning the title than the Nuggets, right?
Yeah, at this point, yeah. Like Denver, I've been pretty consistent. It's 5%, and I think I upped it to like 7% before. I'm down to like 6%.
Yeah. Peyton Watson played 6 minutes, was terrible, got yanked. I think if you're a fan, you want the guys that you watch play well in games to play. That's what you want. And you don't care about anything else, and I understand that. When I go the other direction on these things, it's because I always am a little bit... There are times when it's just there were inexplicable decisions. That's how Kings fans felt about Keon Ellis. They literally were like, they should fire Mike Brown just because Keon Ellis isn't playing. And then Keon Ellis played, and they've been, well, he's been really good, but they've basically been the same team. But it's fine because Keon Ellis is really fun and good. The process, I think, is a lot bigger. What I will tell you is I do not think that there is the confidence in this organization that Peyton has earned the minutes. And that's not just coaching. And that's not to say that they don't trust Peyton if they have to rely on him, but that if there are other options, they're going to go to it. Do I think that Russell Westbrook should play 31 minutes and Peyton Watson should play 6? I do not. Right? I don't think that that's how it should be.
Yeah, that was just straight up dumb. Like
the question is, okay, is that decision tree on Malone to just play the good player that you think is good? That was bad today. Or is it on Peyton to do the things that gets him into the rotation more?
No, it's to get your team ready for the playoffs, Matt. And the Nuggets are not ready for the playoffs until Peyton Watson is ready for the playoffs. They're just not. Like, they don't have enough bodies. They do not have enough defense. They do not have enough athleticism in order to actually consider themselves a contender unless Peyton Watson can.
Who's the player you think that plays losing basketball in the NBA? Who do you think is just like, that guy plays losing basketball?
DeMar DeRozan.
That's too harsh. Like, DeMar's really good. Can we take like the worst version of DeMar and go to like Kevin Porter Jr.?
Can we go Cam Thomas?
Let's go Kevin Porter Jr.
Well, yeah, there's a lot of reasons we can go with Kevin Porter Jr.
You're right. So if Kevin Porter Jr. was on this team, do you want him, regardless of his process and regardless of what's going on, should he get minutes?
Fuck no. Absolutely not, Matt. Because there's a difference between what Kevin Porter Jr. provides and the type of skill set that he has versus Peyton Watson, who in theory should be a role player defender that you put around your stars.
Okay. So for you, it's just like Peyton's skill set inherently makes him a winning player.
Of course, but it's not inherent. There is potential, and that is a difference. And so he has to do the things, but you cannot do it unless you play in practice.
Whoa. What if those things are not about when he plays?
Like he's not willing to be the defender because he's not owning up to things in film sessions or things like that.
Whatever it is, I'm not trying to I don't know, right? Maybe this is just Malone on a power trip because everyone's going to make that assumption because we don't have any of the other information and everyone wants to blame the coach, right? And I get that, and it could. I'm not denying it could be that, but what I'm asking is if that's the issue. Doesn't that, do you see what I'm saying there? Where it's like, there's a scenario here where we judge them off of what we see in the play. And the decision tree is a lot more complicated than that. Does that make sense?
Look, it makes sense. I just don't care. And the reason why is because Aaron Gordon got hurt and played 7 minutes. And
Okay.
I think the plan just has to change at that point.
This is why it's good to have you on the show as a fan, right? Because you're just like, when he plays, he's good. So play
It's
the good
not
guy.
that. It is not that. The thing is that they are not going to win a championship unless they have enough defense to win it. And like, I think that he's the guy. I think he's their best defender. And
I agree.
Yeah,
I
like
agree.
it's just insane to me. And like, I understand why he didn't play because he was bad. But the only way you're not going to be bad is if you play more and play through it.
I think it's really interesting that he gave Jalen Pickett the leash here with 16 minutes, right?
It was decision making and it was spacing, and I understand why. But then again, Russell Westbrook also played 31 minutes and shot 1 of 9, and he did do some good things. Like he hustled up and did like he made up for that gap in so many different ways because of grabbed 7 offensive rebounds and had 5 assists. But don't you think like Peyton Watson might have had a better chance of being at the top of that 1-2-2 zone and slowing down SGA a little bit more?
If I told you that Peyton Watson shot 1 of 9 from the field, do you think he should have played?
He never will.
No, I'm asking if Peyton had shot 1 of 9 from the field and was a minus 17 and didn't have 11 rebounds and didn't have 5 assists.
He shouldn't play if it gets to that point. But the problem is that it never gets to that point because Malone will pull him before that. Malone, He just like, if it gets to the point where he's like 0 of 4, Malone's not going to give him a chance to go 1 of 9 because like he's not a veteran. He's not old.
That's fair. I will disagree with you on Zeke Naji. I thought Zeke was not good today. So there's a couple of sequences. I went back and I watched the corner threes that the Thunder generated, which are always going to be the ones that just like drive me insane. I look at corner threes allowed the way that you look at air balls. When a player airballs, like Ryan's, like he dies a little inside when a player airballs.
Yeah, it's just like show some competency, guy. Like,
and for me, it's about don't allow corner threes. You cannot give those shots up. You are going to die if you allow those shots. And Zeke was just like, there was one where like Zeke just didn't run back. By the way, Michael Porter Jr., 24 points, 15 rebounds, 10 of 19 from the field. What an incredible offensive game. And it's so great that he was able to provide 15 rebounds because they're going to need that if they match up. Whoever they match up against, they need that kind of physicality.
There's a reason he was minus 33.
I don't know if I don't even like I'm captain plus minus. And even I'm kind of like, no, like he wasn't that bad. Like he wasn't 16 points worse than Russ.
So what's the issue?
The thing that drives me insane, there's nobody, not nobody, Jokic. Outside of Jokic, there's nobody that gives worse effort in transition. It's always his guy leaking to the corner. It's always his guy getting that open 3. It's always his guy that Malone has. It's always that sequence where Malone's calling that race timeout. And I look, MPJ is 6'10" and has had multiple back surgeries. So he moves fine. He's able to play every game. But I am just kind of like, I get it. It's hard. Like it's hard in game 62 to sprint up and down the floor. That's one of the things. And I will say, if you want, here's a big coaching criticism from me for Malone, because I know everybody wants it. Malone did the thing that I hate it when coaches do. You get sucked in when they do these 4 wing lineups. Every team in the league feels like I have to adapt to them because otherwise we're going to get run off the floor. And you can actually maybe do that, but you can't do it with MPJ and 3 guards. You can't.
Are they going to do lock-in defensively with that group? Like,
right. You need right. And actually, like I think if you look at the numbers, those lineups actually weren't bad defensively, Ryan. But I think if you're like, all right, we need to match them in terms of they're running small ball wings, 1 big and all of these wings. That's when it's like you got to have Peyton Watson in there. You've got to, right? Unless there's another factor, but we'll talk about that later. Like those kind of things are what you get caught into. I think that this is kind of the problem though, too, on the other side of this is how do you stay big when Aaron's out?
They don't have the personnel. If they
don't have the personnel because of the roster construction.
Yeah, if Vlatko Chanchar was healthy, like I mean, he kind of is, but like, well, I don't think they're going to throw him out there in this one. That seems kind of cruel. But like, yeah, it's like Hunter Tyson's not really playable. Deron Holmes, it would be nice to have him. That would be great. What is Sammy saying here?
Sammy's saying, I love how people like to defend players like when they have a negative net margin for a game, but use it as a weapon against players they don't like. I literally was like, hey, here's like an explanation. Is the fast break points were a massive problem for MPJ. That's a part of the reason he was minus 33. My point was not that he was a negative. My point was that minus 33 is like, all right, like it's not like it's not like they were minus 16. They were 16 points worse with MPJ on the floor than with Russ, or 24 points worse, 25 points worse than with Zeke on the floor, or 23 points worse than with Peyton. Like, no, it's not. That gap is not representative of it. I have to have limits on using plus minus, and I use it more than anybody else in single game context.
Should we do MVP real quick? Is there anything that's worth talking about?
No, because if they win tomorrow, if Joker plays tomorrow, which he probably shouldn't because of the elbow, but I think he might because he's a psycho. If he plays tomorrow and he puts up 40 and the Thunder, even if they rest some guys and the Nuggets win, it does negate it. If Jokic goes for a 30-point triple-double or has a 40-12-8 and they get the win and they split, there's this idea of like, well, is the ABC, primetime game? Yes. But like the people that actually vote on the NBA, they will pay attention to that. Like not Kendra Perkins, but like actual people that vote on the NBA they'll notice that. So nothing's changed. I expected the Thunder to win the first one. If they were healthy, I would think the Nuggets win game 2. Like if I knew AG, if you told me tomorrow AG and Jokic are going to go.
Are they going to go for the entire game?
Yeah.
If they are, then yeah, I mean, I think Denver, the thing about Denver is they're really great on second night of back-to-backs. Like, it's incomprehensible. And I don't think that it's going to translate to this OKC matchup, but there is precedent for them to win this next game and say, hey, like, sorry things didn't work well the first time. We'll get it right this next time. And that's just how they have operated. So we'll see what happens, but like Murray's gonna have to shoot a little bit better. Jokic is gonna have to shoot better. Like he couldn't hit the broadside of a barn once he hit that elbow on the ground. And Denver, like I just don't know if they have the energy to keep up with this team. That's the other thing is like this team's just better, and it's unfortunate.
Are the Thunder the team that Nuggets fans hate the most right now, besides the Lakers?
Yeah, that's a different category. Like,
well, yeah, but
the Thunder are the team that Nuggets fans are most scared of.
But also, like, if you're 13 and you're 8 and you just got into basketball and you were like 9 when Jokic won the title, and now you're 11, like you're kind of like, who cares about the Lakers? They suck.
Yeah, well, that's a learned hatred from your father, from your friends, from your family, anybody that has been through this Nug life before. Wolves obviously eliminated the Nuggets most recently, so they have a special hate place. Anthony Edwards, really good guy. Anthony Edwards, he's not necessarily in everybody's great graces in Nuggets land, especially with the way that they act on a consistent basis. So, yeah, not awesome, man.
I am interested though, like. I just pick up on so much angst about this OKC team. Like
they're great, and because Denver was promised a dynasty. They were promised a dynasty by their own GM.
And yeah, but I will say this: like, look, until OKC wins a title, I'm not going to think that they can do it because, like, I just think that they're snake bit.
I don't agree with you.
This team
is going to go 16-4 in the playoffs.
Those Thunder, okay. We can bet on that. Those Thunder teams that had Russ and KD, like it just something always got in the way. Something always got in the way. And until they break through, I'm not going to be able to believe it. So
yeah, I mean that's how Nug life happened, and then it just didn't. So like, look, they've got the mix. This is a great Thunder team, and Denver's going to have to be perfect in order to defeat them, but they can.
They were within range today.
But they were mostly perfect in the first half.
No,
they barely turned the ball over.
They weren't. Nah, come on. They weren't perfect. They had mistakes and they had breakdowns. It was a good game from them, but
Yeah.
I'm gonna pick you up. I'm gonna get you to believe by the time that we get to the playoffs. I'm gonna do it.
Good freaking luck, man.
All right, guys. Thanks for joining us. Appreciate you guys being with us here on Locked On Nuggets. Make sure to like and subscribe and join the 9,200 and climbing folks that have subscribed to Locked On Nuggets on YouTube. We are almost at 10,000. We're so excited. Please help us out. Swipe will be with you on Tuesday, and we'll be back with you we'll do a show tomorrow night after the second Thunder game, I think, if I can make time tomorrow. So appreciate you guys being with us. We'll see you guys again next time here on Locked On Nuggets.